Hi there. Welcome to Melted Stone, the spot for stories that grab you and won't let you go. If you love drama, surprises, and moments that make you say, no way, you're in the right place. Subscribe and dive into tales full of twists, bold moves, and endings you'll remember. This is Melted Stone. Hit the bell and let's get the story rolling.
This can't be real.
The pregnancy test sat on the bathroom counter. Daniel stared at the two pink lines through the crack in the door, his coffee growing cold in his trembling hand. 3 months. 3 months since Vegas. 3 months since his wife Alyssa had stumbled home with mascara streaks and lies falling from her lips like broken glass. Honey? Alyssa's voice drifted up from the kitchen, artificially sweet. Can you come down? Janelle's here? Of course she was. Janelle, the life coach sister who'd planted the poison seeds about female empowerment and opening marriages in Alyssa's head. Daniel set down his mug and descended the stairs, each step feeling like a march to his own execution. The two women sat at the kitchen island, laptops open, plotting his destruction with the casual efficiency of suburban housewives planning a book club. Alyssa's fingers drummed against her coffee mug, a nervous tell he'd learned to recognize over 15 years of marriage. Daniel, perfect timing, Janelle said without looking up from her screen. We're discussing Alyssa's personal brand expansion. Her Instagram engagement is through the roof since the Vegas photos. Those photos, Alyssa draped over strangers in neon-lit clubs, her wedding ring notably absent from every single frame. The captions about rediscovering herself and living authentically had made his stomach turn. Brand expansion, Daniel repeated, settling into his chair. That's one way to put it. Alyssa's eyes flicked to his face, searching for hidden meaning. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, just making conversation. He reached for the orange juice, noting how his wife's shoulders tensed. How was your doctor's appointment yesterday? The question hung in the air like smoke. Janelle's fingers paused over her keyboard. Alyssa's face went pale beneath her carefully applied makeup. Fine, Alyssa whispered. Everything's fine. But Daniel had already seen the truth upstairs. The test wasn't the first one. He'd found two others buried in the bathroom trash, both positive. His wife was pregnant, and they both knew the timing made fatherhood a mathematical impossibility for him. Dad! Emily burst through the front door, backpack slung over her shoulder, 16 years old and full of righteous fury. Rachel's mom said you were asking questions about Vegas. That's like totally stalker behavior. Daniel's jaw tightened. Rachel, one of the Vegas crew, one of the enablers who'd cheered Alyssa's liberation from the sidelines. I wasn't asking questions about Vegas. Then why is everyone talking about it? Emily threw her bag on the counter, nearly knocking over Janelle's laptop. Mom, tell him to stop being weird. Alyssa's hand moved instinctively to her stomach, a gesture so brief Daniel almost missed it. Almost. Your father's just processing, Alyssa said carefully. Big changes are hard for some people. What changes? Emily's voice rose. You went to Vegas with Aunt Janelle. You had fun. Dad's being a controlling freak about it. The words hit like physical blows. Daniel stood slowly, his chair scraping against the hardwood floor. Emily, why don't you go upstairs and start your homework? Don't tell me what to do. You're not my... I'm your father. The words came out harder than he intended. And I said go upstairs. Emily's face crumpled. God, I hate you. Mom, why did you even marry him? She stormed out, leaving silence in her wake. Daniel stared at the spot where she'd been standing, feeling something fundamental shift inside his chest. She's just upset, Alyssa said quietly. You know how teenagers are? Do I? Daniel turned to face his wife. Seems like there's a lot I don't know these days. Janelle cleared her throat. Maybe I should go. Let you two work this out. No. Daniel's voice was calm, controlled. Stay. I think we should all be here for this conversation. He walked to the kitchen junk drawer and pulled out a manila envelope. Inside were printouts, credit card statements, hotel receipts, and one particularly interesting document that Todd, Janelle's husband, had discovered in Alyssa's luggage. What is that? Alyssa's voice was barely a whisper. Daniel spread the papers across the counter like a dealer revealing a winning hand. This is a marriage certificate, filed in Clark County, Nevada, dated 3 months ago. Janelle's face went white. Todd gave you that. Todd's a good man. He thought I deserved to know that my wife married a Vegas bouncer named Kyle while she was drunk off her ass. It's not real. Alyssa said quickly. It was a joke, a stupid, drunk joke. The Clark County Clerk's office disagrees. Daniel pulled out his phone, showing them a screenshot. Legal marriage, consummated according to the hotel records. Filed properly with the state. The room went silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of Emily's music upstairs. Daniel, Alyssa started, her voice breaking. Please, let me explain. Explain what? That you're a bigamist? That you've been lying to me for 3 months? That you're pregnant with another man's child? Janelle gasped. Pregnant? Alyssa's hands shook as she reached for her coffee mug. How did you… The test upstairs. The 3 tests you thought you hid well enough. Daniel's voice was deadly quiet. The doctor's appointment you lied about. The way you can't look me in the eye when you say everything's fine. It might be yours, Alyssa said desperately. The timing. It could be yours. Daniel laughed, a sound devoid of humor. We haven't had sex in 4 months, Alyssa. You moved to the guest room, remember? Said you needed space to find yourself. I was confused. You were ducking a stranger in Vegas while posting Instagram stories about female empowerment. Don't talk to her like that, Janelle said, standing up. She's been unhappy for years. You never listened to her needs. Her needs? Daniel turned to his sister-in-law. What needs? The need to humiliate me? The need to destroy our family? The need to teach my daughter that marriage vows mean nothing? The need to feel alive, Janelle shot back. The need to feel wanted. When's the last time you made her feel special? I worked 60 hours a week to pay for this house. I coached Emily's soccer team for 5 years. I put Alyssa through her real estate certification. I've been making her feel special for 15 years. That's not the same thing, Alyssa said quietly. You provided for us, but you never made me feel desired. So you married someone else. I was drunk. I was stupid. You were an adult making choices. Daniel began gathering up the papers. And now you're pregnant with his child. We don't know that. We do. Daniel pulled out one more document, a paternity test order. I scheduled this for next week. We'll know for sure then. Alyssa's face crumpled. You can't make me take a paternity test. I can't make you take it, but I can make the results part of the divorce proceedings. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Janelle sank back into her chair. Alyssa stared at him with wide, desperate eyes. Divorce? She whispered. Did you think I'd stay married to a woman who's already married to someone else? Please, Alyssa said, tears streaming down her face. Please, Daniel. I made a mistake. I was drunk and stupid, and I made a terrible mistake. But I love you. I love our family. You love the idea of our family. You love the security, the house, the lifestyle. But you don't love me. That's not true. If it's not true, then why are you pregnant with another man's child? Alyssa collapsed into sobs. Janelle moved to comfort her, shooting Daniel a look of pure hatred. You're a cruel man, Janelle said. She made one mistake. She made 1,000 mistakes. Every lie, every excuse, every time she chose herself over us. This is just the biggest one. Daniel walked to the window, looking out at the suburban street where they'd built their life together. The house across the street still had Halloween decorations up. Normal families lived normal lives while his world burned down around him. I'm keeping the baby, Alyssa said quietly. Whatever you decide to do, I'm keeping the baby. That's your choice. Could you ever forgive me? Could you raise him as yours? Daniel turned back to face her. His name is Kyle. He's 28 years old. He works security at the Bellagio. He has a snake tattoo on his left forearm and a criminal record for assault. How do you know that? Because I hired a private investigator. Because I'm not stupid, Alyssa. I know exactly who you married and exactly what kind of man you chose over me. I didn't choose him. I was drunk. You chose him the moment you took off your wedding ring. You chose him when you let him buy you drinks. You chose him when you went back to his room. You chose him when you said, I do, in front of an Elvis impersonator. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. Daniel moved toward the door. I'm staying at the Hampton Inn on 4th Street. My lawyer will be in touch. Daniel, wait. I'm done waiting, Alyssa. I've been waiting for you to remember you're married for 3 months. I'm done. He left them there. 2 women who'd spent so much energy planning Alyssa's liberation that they'd forgotten to consider the consequences. As he drove away from the house they'd painted together, the garden they'd planted, the memories they'd built over 15 years, Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in months. Relief. The Hampton Inn smelled like industrial carpet cleaner and broken dreams. Daniel sat on the edge of the bed, staring at his wedding ring. 15 years of marriage reduced to a circle of gold that no longer fit the man he was becoming. His phone buzzed. A text from his old army buddy, Jake. Heard you might need a lawyer. Call me. Todd had been busy. Good. Daniel needed allies now. He dialed Jake's number. It's Daniel. Jesus, man. Todd told me everything. You holding up okay? I'm alive. That's a start. Listen, I've been practicing family law for 8 years. I've seen cases like this before. The bigamy angle is tricky, but it's also your nuclear option. Meaning? Meaning she's technically married to 2 people. That's a felony in Oregon. You could have her arrested. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. I don't want her in prison. I want her out of my life. Fair enough. But the threat of criminal charges gives us serious leverage. No judge will award alimony to a bigamist, especially one pregnant with her second husband's child. What about Emily? That's the complicated part. She's 16, old enough to choose where she wants to live. And right now, she's choosing mom. Daniel's heart clenched. She hates me. She's confused. Her mom's been feeding her a narrative about female empowerment and controlling husbands. Give it time. I don't have time. Alyssa's already turning her against me. Then we need to move fast. I'll file the papers tomorrow. Oregon is a no-fault state, but adultery still matters when it comes to property division and custody. Do it. Daniel, I have to ask. Are you sure you want to blow up your life over this? I've seen guys work through worse. Have you seen guys work through their wife marrying someone else? Point taken. I'll draw up the papers. Daniel hung up and stared at his reflection in the hotel mirror. At 38, he looked older than his years. Gray at the temples, lines around his eyes, shoulders that carried the weight of everyone else's expectations. Not anymore. He opened his laptop and began typing a letter to his landscape architecture clients. Professional, courteous, explaining that he'd be taking a brief hiatus due to personal matters. He'd built his business on reliability and discretion, qualities that had served him well until his wife decided to throw their life away for a Vegas adventure. By morning, the letter was sent, the papers were filed, and Daniel had made his first appointment with a personal trainer. If he was going to rebuild his life, he might as well rebuild his body too. The gym was busy at 6 a.m., full of people trying to outrun their demons on treadmills and ellipticals. Daniel found the weight room and started with basics: bench press, squats, deadlifts. His form was rusty, but the muscle memory was there. 20 years since Army basic training, but his body remembered what it felt like to be strong. You're doing it wrong. Daniel looked up to find a young guy, maybe 25, watching him with professional interest. Excuse me? Your form. You're going to hurt yourself lifting like that. I'm Benji, one of the trainers here. You want some help? Daniel considered saying no, but something in the kid's earnest expression stopped him. Sure, I'm Daniel. Army? How'd you know? The way you carry yourself. My dad was Marine Corps. Same posture, same discipline. When'd you get out? Long time ago. I've been soft for a while. Benji grinned. Good thing soft isn't permanent. Bad thing is, you're going to hurt like hell tomorrow. He was right. Daniel woke up the next morning feeling like he'd been hit by a truck. But it was good pain, the kind that reminded him he was alive, that his body was capable of more than he'd demanded of it in years. His phone showed 12 missed calls from Alyssa and 3 voicemails. He deleted them without listening. Instead, he called his office manager, Helen, a 60-year-old woman who'd been organizing his professional life for the past 5 years. Helen, it's Daniel. I need you to do something for me. Of course, hun, you sound terrible. Everything okay? Personal stuff. I need you to compile a list of all our clients who've used Alyssa's real estate services. Cross-reference that with any negative reviews or complaints. Daniel, that sounds like I'm planning something vindictive? I am, but I'm not going to hurt anyone who doesn't deserve it. Helen was quiet for a moment. She cheated on you, didn't she? She married someone else. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Be thorough. And Helen, I need you to research the ethics requirements for real estate agents in Oregon. Specifically, what happens when they engage in behavior that damages their professional reputation? You want me to file a complaint? I want you to find out what would happen if someone else filed a complaint. Hypothetically. I'll have that information by tomorrow. Daniel spent the rest of the day at the gym, pushing his body until his mind went quiet. For the first time in months, he wasn't thinking about Alyssa's lies or Emily's anger or the baby that wasn't his. He was just moving, breathing, existing in the moment. That evening, he drove past his old house. Alyssa's car was in the driveway, along with Janelle's SUV and two other cars he didn't recognize. A support group, probably. A circle of women reinforcing each other's delusions about empowerment and independence. His phone rang. Emily. Dad? Her voice was small, uncertain. Hi, sweetheart. Mom said you filed for divorce. I did. Are you really going to make her take a paternity test? Daniel closed his eyes. Emily, your mother married another man while she was still married to me. She's pregnant with his child. What did you think was going to happen? I thought you'd forgive her, like you always do. This isn't about forgiveness. This is about reality. Your mother made choices that ended our marriage. But she loves you. She's crying all the time. She's crying because she got caught. If she loved me, she wouldn't have married someone else. Emily was quiet for a long moment. I hate this. I know, I hate it too. Can I come stay with you? Daniel's heart leaped. Of course, any time. Not tonight, but maybe this weekend? I'll pick you up Friday after school. Okay, she paused. Dad? I'm sorry I said those things. About hating you. You don't have to apologize. You're trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. I love you. I love you too, Em. More than you know. After she hung up, Daniel sat in his car outside his old house, watching the shadows move behind the windows. Inside, his wife was planning her next move, surrounded by women who'd convinced her that destroying her family was an act of courage. They had no idea what was coming. The coffee shop on 5th Street was the kind of place where suburban moms gathered to gossip over lattes and pretend their lives were more interesting than they actually were. Daniel chose a corner table with a clear view of the entrance and waited. Rachel arrived first, looking around nervously. She'd been easy to contact. Her divorce coaching business was plastered all over social media, complete with phone number and email address. The message he'd sent was simple. I have information about Alyssa's Vegas trip that you need to hear. Meet me at Grind Coffee at 2 p.m. Come alone. She spotted him immediately. He was hard to miss, 6 feet tall, 30 pounds heavier with muscle than he'd been 2 months ago, wearing a tailored suit that fit his new physique perfectly. The gym membership was paying dividends. Daniel? She approached cautiously. I wasn't sure you'd actually show up. Sit down, Rachel. She sat, clutching her purse like a shield. Look, I know you're upset about Vegas, but I'm not upset about Vegas. I'm upset about the lies. He slid a manila folder across the table. Open it. Rachel's hands trembled as she opened the folder. Inside were printouts, hotel records, credit card statements, and photos. Lots of photos. Where did you get these? The same place I got the marriage certificate. The same place I got the security footage of you holding the camera while my wife kissed her new husband. Rachel's face went pale. It wasn't like that. We were all drunk. It was supposed to be fun. Fun. Daniel leaned back in his chair. You took photos of my wife's wedding to another man and posted them on social media. You think that's fun? We didn't know it was real. We thought it was just Vegas stuff. Vegas stuff. Daniel pulled out his phone and showed her a screenshot. Is this Vegas stuff too? The image showed Rachel's divorce coaching website, featuring a testimonial from a satisfied client. Rachel helped me find the courage to leave my controlling husband and embrace my authentic self. Best decision I ever made. A.M. A.M., Daniel said quietly. Alyssa Manning, your friend used your services to justify destroying her marriage. She came to me for advice, but I didn't tell her to have an affair. You told her to embrace her authentic self. You told her she deserved to feel alive. You told her marriage was a patriarchal construct designed to control women. Rachel's mouth opened and closed like a fish. How do you know what I told her? Because I've been listening. Daniel pulled out a small recording device. Oregon is a one-party consent state. I can record any conversation I'm part of, including this one. You're recording me? I'm protecting myself, because people like you have a tendency to lie when the truth becomes inconvenient. Rachel started to stand. I don't have to listen to this. Yes, you do. Because if you walk out of here, I'm going to post these photos and that recording on every social media platform I can find. I'm going to send them to your clients, your business partners, and your professional licensing board. I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of advice you give married women." She sat back down, her face flushed with anger. "You can't do that. I can do whatever I want. My wife is a public figure now, thanks to her Instagram presence. These photos are newsworthy. Her followers deserve to know the truth about her empowerment journey. What do you want? I want you to tell me about the other men." "What other men? The ones from the bars? The ones she met after Vegas? The ones you've been covering for?" Rachel's eyes widened. "I don't know what you're talking about." Daniel slid another photo across the table. This one showed Alyssa at a downtown bar, her arms around a man who wasn't Daniel and wasn't Kyle from Vegas. "This was taken 3 weeks ago. You were there. You took this photo." I... She said she was getting divorced. She said you knew." "I didn't know, but I know now." Daniel gathered up the photos. "I know about Marcus from the gym. I know about the guy from her real estate office. I know about the Friday night girls club that's really just an excuse for married women to hunt for hookups. She's not the only one. Half the women in our group are... I don't care about the other women. I care about my wife, my soon-to-be ex-wife." Rachel slumped in her chair. "What do you want from me?" "I want you to stay away from my family. I want you to stop giving advice to married women about leaving their husbands. And I want you to think very carefully about the kind of business you're really running. I help women find their independence. You help women destroy their families. There's a difference." Daniel stood up, leaving Rachel sitting alone with her shame and her overpriced latte. Phase 1 complete. 2 more members of the Vegas crew to go. Nicole was harder to track down. Her social media presence was minimal, her contact information scarce. But Daniel had learned patience in the Army, and he'd learned persistence in business. It took him 3 weeks to find her home address. The house was modest, middle class, with a minivan in the driveway and children's toys scattered across the front lawn. Nicole answered the door wearing yoga pants and a stained t-shirt, looking harried and tired. "Daniel, what are you doing here?" "We need to talk." "I don't think that's a good idea. Alyssa said you were..." "What? That I was stalking her? That I was being controlling? That I was refusing to accept her new lifestyle?" Nicole glanced over her shoulder, then stepped outside, closing the door behind her. "My kids are inside. I don't want them to hear this. Then we'll keep it quiet. But we are going to talk." "About what?" "About the fact that you've been lying to your husband for 6 months. About the fact that you've been using girls' nights as cover for hookups. About the fact that you helped my wife destroy our marriage." Nicole's face went white. "I never..." "You introduced her to Kyle. You knew him from your previous Vegas trips. You specifically brought her to his bar because you thought it would be funny to watch the uptight married lady get wild." "That's not true." "It's completely true. I have statements from 3 different people who saw you make the introduction. I have credit card records showing you've been to Vegas 12 times in the past 2 years. I have photos of you with Kyle from your previous trips." Nicole sagged against the door. "How do you know all this?" "Because I'm not stupid, Nicole. Because I don't just lie down and accept betrayal. Because I fight back." "What do you want?" "I want you to tell your husband the truth. I want you to confess to your affairs. I want you to face the consequences of your actions." "I can't do that. He'll leave me. He'll take the kids." "Then you should have thought of that before you started cheating on him." Nicole started to cry. "Please, I made mistakes, but I can't lose my children." "You're going to lose them anyway, because I'm going to tell your husband myself if you don't." "You wouldn't." "I would. I'm going to destroy everyone who helped destroy my marriage. Your husband deserves to know the truth about the woman he married." "I'll do anything. Please, just don't tell him." "There's nothing you can do. The damage is done." Daniel turned to leave, then paused. "Actually, there is one thing. You can tell Alyssa that her support system is crumbling. Tell her that the women who encouraged her to throw away her marriage are about to lose their own families. Tell her that choices have consequences." He left Nicole crying on her doorstep and drove home to his hotel room, where he had an appointment with his lawyer. Jake was waiting in the lobby, looking grim. "We need to talk. Good news or bad news?" "Both. The good news is the divorce is proceeding smoothly. The bigamy issue is working in our favor. The bad news is Alyssa's hired a lawyer, a good one." "How good?" "Victoria Price. She specializes in high-conflict divorces. She's expensive, ruthless, and she's already filed a motion claiming you're harassing her client." Daniel laughed. Harassing her. I haven't even spoken to her in 2 months. You've been contacting her friends. You've been investigating her personal life. You've been, quote, conducting a campaign of intimidation and surveillance. I've been protecting my interests. I know that. You know that. But Price is going to argue that you're a controlling husband who can't accept his wife's independence. She's going to paint you as the villain in this story. Let her try. I have evidence. Evidence of what? That your wife cheated? That her friends are also cheaters? That's not illegal, Daniel. Morally questionable, sure, but not illegal. The bigamy is illegal. She's claiming ignorance. Says she was too drunk to understand what was happening. Says you're using her mistake to punish her for wanting a divorce. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. She doesn't want a divorce. She wants me to come crawling back. Maybe. But Price is playing this like your wife is the victim of an abusive marriage. She's going to argue that the Vegas trip was a cry for help, that the pregnancy is a blessing, that you're using legal technicalities to hurt a vulnerable woman who's been systematically destroying our family for months. Prove it. I can prove the affairs. I can prove the lies. You can prove she made bad choices. You can't prove she's a monster. And that's what Price is counting on. Daniel stood up and walked to the window. Outside, normal people were living normal lives, unaware that their comfortable suburban existence could be shattered in an instant by the people who claimed to love them. What's your advice? Settle. Take the house, take half the assets, get joint custody of Emily, walk away clean, and let her keep the baby? The baby isn't yours. Why would you want to raise another man's child? I don't, but I want Emily to see that actions have consequences. I want her to understand that you can't just blow up your family and expect everyone to pretend it's okay. Emily's 16. She'll figure it out on her own. Will she? Or will she learn that marriage is disposable, that vows are meaningless, that you can do whatever you want as long as you claim you're finding yourself? Jake sighed. What do you want to do? I want to fight. I want to take this to trial. I want every dirty detail dragged into the light. That's expensive and ugly, and you might not win. I might not, but I'll go down swinging. Jake closed his briefcase. Okay, but if we're going to war, we need better ammunition. The affair evidence is good, but it's not enough. We need something that shows a pattern of deception, something that proves she's been planning this for months. Like what? Like financial records, like evidence that she's been hiding assets, like proof that she's been setting up her new life while pretending to work on the marriage. Daniel smiled for the first time in weeks. I think I can get that. The key to Alyssa's deception was sitting in her laptop, protected by a password she'd used for everything since college. Emily, 2008. Daniel had set up their home computer network. He knew all her digital habits, all her security weaknesses. Breaking into her accounts wasn't technically legal, but it wasn't technically illegal either. They were still married, still joint owners of all their assets, still entitled to access shared information. The gray area was wide enough to drive a truck through. What he found was worse than he'd imagined. The planning had started 8 months ago, long before Vegas. Alyssa had been consulting with divorce attorneys, researching asset protection strategies, even looking into apartments in Portland. She'd been preparing for the end of their marriage while still sleeping in their bed, still playing the role of devoted wife and mother. The credit card statement showed a pattern of deception that went back 2 years. Charges for hotels when she was supposed to be at work. Charges for restaurants when she was supposed to be showing houses. Charges for clothing and lingerie that she'd never worn at home. But the real revelation was in her email. Months of correspondence with Kyle, the Vegas bouncer, that predated their trip by 6 months. She'd been planning to meet him all along. The drunk mistake was actually a calculated decision to leave her marriage in the most devastating way possible. Daniel printed everything. Bank records, emails, credit card statements, text messages she'd backed up to the cloud. By the time he was finished, he had a paper trail that stretched back 2 years and painted a picture of systematic deception. His phone rang. Emily. Dad? I need to talk to you. Of course. What's wrong? It's Mom. She's acting weird. She keeps asking me questions about you, about what you're doing, where you're staying, if you've said anything about her. What kind of questions? Like, has he mentioned any other women? Has he been asking about my friend's parents? Has he said anything about Vegas? Daniel's jaw tightened. She's trying to use you as a spy. I think so. And Dad? I found something in her room. What? Birth control pills, hidden in her jewelry box. But she's pregnant, right? Why would she need birth control? Daniel's blood ran cold. Emily, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Don't let your mother know you found those pills. Don't ask her about them. Don't mention them to anyone. Why? What's going on? I think your mother might be lying about the pregnancy. What do you mean? I think she's faking it. I think she's trying to manipulate the divorce proceedings by claiming she's having another man's baby. That's crazy. Why would she do that? Because it makes her look like a victim. Because it makes me look like a monster for abandoning a pregnant woman. Because it gives her leverage in court. Emily was quiet for a long moment. So there's no baby? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. How? By demanding that paternity test. If she's really pregnant, she'll take it. If she's not, she'll refuse. And if she refuses, then we'll know the truth. Daniel hung up and immediately called Jake. We need to expedite the paternity test demand. What's the rush? I think she's faking the pregnancy. Jesus. Are you sure? Emily found birth control pills in her room, hidden birth control pills, for a woman who's supposedly 3 months pregnant. That's not conclusive evidence. It's enough to raise questions. And if she's lying about the pregnancy, what else is she lying about? I'll file the motion tomorrow. But Daniel, if you're wrong about this, it's going to backfire spectacularly. I'm not wrong. I've been married to this woman for 15 years. I know when she's lying. The next morning, Daniel drove to the house to pick up Emily for their weekend together. Alyssa was waiting on the front porch, looking haggard and desperate. We need to talk, she said as he approached. No, we don't. Emily's ready to go. Please, just 5 minutes. I have nothing to say to you, but I have things to say to you. She stepped closer and he caught a whiff of her perfume, the same scent she'd worn on their wedding day. I know I hurt you. I know I made terrible mistakes, but I'm trying to make it right. By lying about being pregnant, her face went pale. I'm not lying. Then take the paternity test. I will, when the time is right. The time is right now. Today, this afternoon. I can't. The stress. It's not good for the baby. What baby, Alyssa? The one you're pretending to carry so you can play the victim in court. How can you say that? Tears started flowing down her cheeks. How can you be so cruel? Because Emily found your birth control pills. Because you've been taking them while claiming to be pregnant. Because everything that comes out of your mouth is a lie. Alyssa stumbled backward. You went through my things? Emily went through your things. Your own daughter doesn't trust you anymore. That's not, I can explain. Don't. Just don't. Daniel turned toward the house. Emily, let's go. His daughter appeared in the doorway, backpack over her shoulder, looking uncomfortable. Ready, Dad? As they walked to his car, Alyssa called out, Daniel, please, don't do this to us. Don't destroy what we built. He turned back to face her. I didn't destroy anything. You did. The moment you decided our marriage wasn't worth fighting for. I was fighting for it. I was fighting to make it better. By marrying someone else. By trying to find myself. By trying to become the woman you fell in love with. The woman I fell in love with didn't lie. She didn't cheat. She didn't fake pregnancies to win sympathy. I'm not faking. Then prove it. Take the test today. Alyssa's composure finally cracked completely. Fine. Fine, I'll take your goddamn test. But when it proves I'm telling the truth, I want an apology. I want you to admit you were wrong about me. If you're telling the truth, I'll give you more than an apology. I'll withdraw the divorce papers. It was a lie, but she didn't need to know that. 3 hours later, they sat in a sterile medical office while a technician drew blood from Alyssa's arm. The process was quick, clinical, anticlimactic. Results would take 2 days. Satisfied? Alyssa asked as they left the building. We'll see. But Daniel already knew what the results would show. He'd seen the birth control pills himself when he went back to get Emily's forgotten soccer cleats. He'd photographed them, documented their location, even checked the prescription date. They'd been filled 2 weeks ago. The pregnancy was a lie. Everything was a lie. 2 days later, his phone rang at 6 a.m. Jake. The results are in. And? She's not pregnant. Never was, according to the blood work. The HCG levels are completely normal. Daniel closed his eyes. So she faked the whole thing. Looks like it. The question is, what do we do now? We destroy her. Daniel, she's been lying for months. She faked a pregnancy to manipulate divorce proceedings. She's been setting up her new life while pretending to save our marriage. She deserves everything that's coming to her. What exactly is coming to her? Exposure, public humiliation, the complete destruction of her reputation and her business? That sounds like revenge. It is revenge. She earned it. Daniel hung up and opened his laptop. Time for phase 2. The blog post went live at noon. Daniel had spent hours crafting it, making sure every word was carefully chosen, every fact meticulously documented. The headline was simple: My Wife's Authentic Life, A Story of Modern Marriage. He posted it on Medium, shared it on Reddit, submitted it to relationship forums and men's rights groups. Within hours, it had hundreds of shares and comments. By evening, it had gone viral. The post detailed everything: the Vegas marriage, the fake pregnancy, the systematic deception, the network of enablers who'd encouraged Alyssa's empowerment journey. Names were changed, but anyone who knew the family would recognize the story. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Men shared their own stories of betrayal and divorce. Women condemned Alyssa's behavior as harmful to genuine feminist causes. Real estate clients began leaving negative reviews on her business page. By the next morning, local news outlets were calling. By afternoon, a Portland blogger had identified Alyssa and published her real name. By evening, her photo was all over social media, accompanied by comments ranging from supportive to scathing. Daniel's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Interview requests, comment requests, people wanting to share their own stories. He ignored them all, except for one. Emily. Dad, what did you do? I told the truth. Mom's crying. She can't stop crying. Her phone won't stop ringing. I'm sorry you have to see her like that. Are you? Are you really sorry? Because it seems like you wanted this to happen. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Your mother made choices, Emily. She chose to lie to me, to you, to everyone. She chose to fake a pregnancy to manipulate me. She chose to destroy our family. I just made sure the world knew about it. So you destroyed her life? She destroyed her own life. I just documented it. I hate this. I hate what you've both become. I know, I hate it too. Then stop it. Take down the post. Make it stop. I can't do that. The truth is out there now. It has its own momentum. So what happens now? Now your mother faces the consequences of her choices, and we figure out how to move forward. I don't want to move forward. I want my family back. That family doesn't exist anymore, Em. It stopped existing the moment your mother decided our marriage was disposable. Emily hung up, and Daniel stared at his phone for a long time. He'd won, but victory felt hollow. He'd exposed Alyssa's lies, destroyed her reputation, turned her into a cautionary tale about the dangers of modern feminism. But his daughter hated him, his marriage was over, and his life had been reduced to a viral blog post. Still, it was better than being a fool. The court hearing was scheduled for the following week. Daniel arrived early, wearing his best suit, carrying a briefcase full of evidence. Alyssa arrived 10 minutes late, looking disheveled and defeated. Victoria Price, her lawyer, looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. Your Honor, Price began. My client has been the victim of a vicious online harassment campaign orchestrated by her estranged husband. Mr. Manning has used his considerable technical skills to invade her privacy, steal her personal information, and destroy her reputation. Judge Harrison looked unimpressed. Is this about the blog post that's been making the rounds? Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Manning has violated my client's privacy, damaged her business, and subjected her to public humiliation. We're requesting a restraining order and demanding he remove all references to my client from the internet. Jake stood up. Your Honor, everything in that blog post is documented fact. Mr. Manning has done nothing but tell the truth about his wife's behavior. The truth as he sees it, Price shot back. A bitter, vindictive man's interpretation of a marriage that was already failing. The marriage was failing because Mrs. Manning was committing bigamy while faking a pregnancy to manipulate divorce proceedings. Judge Harrison held up a hand. Let's take this step by step. Mrs. Manning, is it true that you entered into a marriage ceremony in Las Vegas while still married to the plaintiff? Alyssa looked at her lawyer, then back at the judge. Yes, but is it true that you claimed to be pregnant with another man's child? I thought I was pregnant. I was confused. Is it true that medical tests have proven you were never pregnant at all? Alyssa's voice was barely a whisper. Yes. Judge Harrison leaned back in his chair. Miss Price, your client committed bigamy and fraud. She lied under oath about a pregnancy that never existed. She systematically deceived her husband for months while preparing to leave him. I'm not inclined to grant a restraining order to protect someone from the consequences of their own criminal behavior. Your Honor, my client made mistakes, but your client committed crimes, multiple crimes. The only reason she's not in jail right now is because Mr. Manning has chosen not to press charges. Daniel felt a surge of satisfaction. Finally, someone in authority was acknowledging the scope of Alyssa's deception. However, the judge continued, I am concerned about the public nature of this dispute. Mr. Manning, while you had every right to defend yourself, turning this into a social media circus serves no one's interests. Your Honor, I simply told my story. You told your story in the most public way possible, knowing it would destroy your wife's reputation and business. That suggests vindictiveness rather than justice. Daniel's jaw tightened. My wife destroyed our marriage. I exposed her lies. I fail to see how that makes me the villain. You're not the villain, Mr. Manning, but you're not entirely innocent either. This court is concerned with the welfare of your minor child, who has been caught in the middle of this very public dispute. Emily. Daniel had tried not to think about how this was affecting her, but the judge was right. She was suffering because of their war. What do you recommend, Your Honor? I recommend you both grow up. Mrs. Manning, you will submit to psychological evaluation to determine your fitness as a parent. Mr. Manning, you will undergo anger management counseling. The divorce will proceed, but custody of Emily will be determined based on her best interests, not your mutual desire for revenge. Your Honor, Price interjected, my client is willing to accept those terms, but she insists that Mr. Manning remove the blog post and all references to her from social media. I can't remove what other people have shared, Daniel said. The story has taken on a life of its own. But you can remove your original post, the judge said, and you can refrain from making any further public statements about your wife. Daniel looked at Alyssa, sitting at the defendant's table with her head down, looking like a broken woman. 6 months ago, she'd been confident, empowered, ready to embrace her authentic life. Now she was facing criminal charges, public humiliation, and the loss of everything she'd worked for. He should have felt victorious. Instead, he felt empty. Fine, he said. I'll remove the post. The judge nodded. Good. This court hopes that both parties can find a way to co-parent their daughter without continuing this destructive pattern of behavior. As they left the courthouse, Alyssa caught up with him on the steps. Daniel, wait. He turned to face her. Up close, she looked terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, weight loss that made her clothes hang loose, the desperate look of someone who'd lost everything. I'm sorry, she said, for all of it, for Vegas, for the lies, for the pregnancy thing. I'm sorry I hurt you. Okay. Is that all? Just okay? What do you want me to say, Alyssa? That I forgive you? That we can be friends? That we can pretend none of this happened? I want you to say that you remember the good times, that 15 years meant something to you. Daniel looked at her for a long moment. They did mean something, but you threw them away. You decided our marriage wasn't worth saving, and you were right. It wasn't. I was trying to save it. I was trying to find myself so I could be better for you. You were trying to have your cake and eat it too. You wanted the security of marriage and the excitement of being single. You wanted to blow up our life and have me thank you for it. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, Alyssa. You taught me that. He walked away, leaving her standing alone on the courthouse steps. As he drove home to his hotel room, Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in months. Peace. 6 months later, Daniel was a different man. The divorce was final, the custody arrangement settled, the blog post a distant memory. He'd moved into a downtown condo, started his own landscape architecture firm, and begun dating a kindergarten teacher named Claire, who had no interest in drama or empowerment or finding her authentic self. Emily spent alternate weekends with him, and their relationship was slowly healing. She'd finally accepted that her mother's choices had destroyed their family, and while she didn't approve of Daniel's public response, she understood his anger. Alyssa had lost everything. Her real estate license was suspended pending an ethics investigation. Her social media following had collapsed. Most of her friends had distanced themselves from the scandal. She'd moved back in with her parents and was working part-time at a dental office. The Vegas crew had scattered. Rachel's divorce coaching business had folded after several clients filed complaints with the Better Business Bureau. Nicole's husband had divorced her after learning about her affairs. Chloe had moved to California to escape the social media harassment. Janelle was the only one who'd emerged unscathed. Probably because Todd had filed for divorce before the scandal broke and moved to Seattle with their kids. Daniel should have felt vindicated. He'd exposed the liars, punished the enablers, and proven that actions have consequences. But as he sat in his new condo, looking out at the city lights, he wondered if it had been worth it. His phone buzzed, a text from Emily. "Dad, can we talk?" He called her immediately. "What's up, sweetheart?" "I had lunch with Mom today." Daniel's stomach tightened. "How is she?" "Bad. Really bad. She's seeing a therapist, but she's still pretty messed up." "I'm sorry to hear that." "Are you? Really?" "Emily, I never wanted your mother to suffer. I just wanted her to face the truth about what she'd done. She has faced it. She knows she destroyed our family. She knows she hurt you and me and everyone else. She knows she was selfish and stupid and wrong about everything. Good. That's progress. But Dad, she's also talking about hurting herself." Daniel's blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" "She said she thinks about dying sometimes. She said maybe everyone would be better off if she just disappeared." "Emily, you need to tell someone about this. A teacher, a counselor, someone. I'm telling you, because you're the only one who can help her." "How can I help her? We're divorced. We're not even speaking." "You could forgive her. You could show some mercy. You could stop being so angry all the time." Daniel was quiet for a long moment. "Emily, I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done. Your mother and I can't be together. Too much has happened. I'm not asking you to get back together. I'm asking you to stop hating her." "I don't hate her. You destroyed her life, Dad. You turned her into a joke, a cautionary tale, a warning to other women about what happens when you cross your husband. You didn't just divorce her, you annihilated her." The words hit like physical blows. "She brought it on herself." "Maybe. But does she deserve to die for it?" "Of course not." "Then help me save her." Daniel closed his eyes. "What do you want me to do?" "Talk to her. Show her that you don't hate her. Show her that she's still a human being deserving of basic dignity." "Emily, please, Dad. I'm scared. I'm really scared that she's going to do something terrible." Daniel stared out at the city lights, thinking about the woman he'd loved for 15 years. The woman who'd given him his daughter. The woman whose life he'd systematically destroyed in the name of justice. "Okay," he said quietly. "I'll talk to her." The next day, he drove to Alyssa's parents' house. She was in the backyard, sitting on an old swing set, looking small and broken. When she saw him approaching, her face went pale. "Daniel? What are you doing here?" "Emily's worried about you." "She shouldn't be. I'm fine." "You're not fine, and neither is she. She's terrified that you're going to hurt yourself." Alyssa looked away. "Maybe I should. Maybe everyone would be better off." "Don't say that." "Why not? It's true. I destroyed everything I touched. Our marriage, our family, my business, my friendships. I'm poison." Daniel sat down on the swing next to her. "You made bad choices. That doesn't make you poison, doesn't it? Look what I did to you. Look what I did to Emily. Look what I did to all those other families. You were influenced by people who gave you bad advice. You were looking for something you thought was missing from your life. I was selfish. I was cruel. I was stupid. You were human. Humans make mistakes." Alyssa started to cry. "I miss you. I miss us. I miss the life we had before I ruined everything. I miss it too." "Do you? Really? Or are you just saying that to make me feel better?" Daniel thought about their wedding day, about Emily's first steps, about lazy Sunday mornings in bed reading the paper together, about the 1,000 small moments that had made up their life together. "I really miss it. But it's gone, Alyssa. We can't go back." "I know, I don't know how to go forward. One day at a time, one choice at a time, the same way you built the life you had before. But I'm not the same person I was before. I don't know who I am anymore." "Then figure it out, without destroying other people in the process." They sat in silence for a while, two broken people trying to find their way back to something resembling peace. "Daniel? Yeah? I'm sorry. For all of it. I know I've said it before, but I want you to know that I really mean it. I know you do. And I want you to know that I'm proud of you." "Proud of me? For rebuilding your life, for moving on, for finding someone who makes you happy." Daniel looked at her in surprise. "How do you know about Claire?" "Emily told me. She likes her. She's a good woman. I'm glad. You deserve to be happy. So do you. I don't know if that's true anymore. It is. But you have to choose to be happy. You have to choose to build a life worth living. Alyssa nodded, wiping her eyes. I'll try. That's all anyone can do. Daniel stood up to leave, then paused. Alyssa, if you ever feel like hurting yourself, call someone. Call a hotline, call a therapist, call Emily. Don't suffer alone. I won't. I promise. As he walked back to his car, Daniel felt something shift inside his chest. The anger that had sustained him through the divorce, through the public battle, through the long months of rebuilding his life, was finally beginning to fade. He'd gotten his revenge. He'd exposed the lies, punished the betrayal, proven his point. But in the end, it hadn't made him happy. It had just made him empty. Maybe it was time to try something different. Maybe it was time to forgive. The restaurant was crowded, full of the usual Friday night crowd looking to unwind after a long week. Daniel sat at a corner table, nursing a beer and waiting for his dinner companion to arrive. Claire appeared in the doorway, scanning the room until she spotted him. She waved and made her way through the crowd, looking radiant in a simple blue dress that brought out her eyes. Sorry I'm late, she said, sliding into the seat across from him. Parent-teacher conferences ran long. No problem. I ordered you a wine. You're a saint. She took a sip and sighed. God, what a day. God, what? Sometimes I think kindergartners are more mature than their parents. Daniel laughed. Tell me about it. I had a client today who wanted me to redesign his entire backyard because his neighbor's tree was blocking his chi. Did you tell him trees have feelings too? I told him I'd move the tree for an extra $10,000. He suddenly found his chai. Claire laughed, and Daniel felt the familiar warmth that came with being around her. She was everything Alyssa wasn't. Stable, honest, genuinely kind. She didn't need to find herself or embrace her authentic life or blow up everything around her in the name of empowerment. She knew who she was and was comfortable with it. How's Emily doing? Claire asked. Better. We had a good weekend together. She's starting to trust me again. And Alyssa? Daniel hesitated. Claire knew the whole story. He'd told her everything on their third date, giving her the chance to run before things got serious. Instead, she'd listened without judgment and told him that everyone deserved a second chance at happiness. She's getting help, therapy, medication, the works. I think she's going to be okay. I'm glad, for Emily's sake, if nothing else. And for my sake, too. I was starting to hate who I'd become. Claire reached across the table and took his hand. You were hurt. You were angry. You did what you thought you had to do to protect yourself. I went too far. I know that now. Maybe. But you're not that person anymore. You've moved on. Daniel squeezed her hand. We've moved on. Is that your way of asking me to move in with you? Maybe. Is that your way of saying yes? Claire smiled. Let me think about it while we eat. Their food arrived, and they settled into comfortable conversation about their days, their plans for the weekend, the small details that made up a normal relationship. No drama, no hidden agendas, no desperate searches for meaning. Just two adults who enjoyed each other's company and were building something real together. Halfway through dinner, Daniel's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. This is Rachel. I wanted you to know that I'm getting divorced. You were right about everything. I'm sorry for what we did to your family. He showed the text to Claire, who read it with raised eyebrows. One of the Vegas crew? She asked. Yeah, the divorce coach. Are you going to respond? Daniel considered it for a moment, then deleted the message. No, it's over. All of it. Good. The past is the past. As they finished their meal and walked out into the cool evening air, Daniel felt a sense of contentment he hadn't experienced in years. His life wasn't perfect, he was divorced, his relationship with Emily was still fragile, his ex-wife was struggling with depression, but it was honest, it was real, it was his. So, Claire said as they reached her car, about that moving in question. What about it? Ask me again in 6 months, when you're sure you're ready for it. I'm ready now. No, you're not. You're still healing, and that's okay. I'm not going anywhere. She kissed him softly and got in her car, leaving him standing alone on the sidewalk. As he watched her drive away, Daniel realized she was right. He wasn't ready for the next chapter yet. But for the first time in months, he believed he would be. His phone rang. Emily. Dad, I just wanted to thank you. For what? For talking to Mom, she's been different since you came by. Better. Like she remembers how to smile. She's going to be okay, Em. It's going to take time, but she's going to be okay. And you? Are you going to be okay? Daniel looked up at the stars barely visible above the city lights, thinking about second chances and new beginnings and the long road back to something resembling peace. Yeah, he said. I think I am. Good. I love you, Dad. I love you too, sweetheart. More than you know. As he drove home to his condo, Daniel thought about the man he'd been a year ago, angry, betrayed, determined to make everyone pay for his pain. That man had gotten his revenge, but he'd lost his soul in the process. Now, driving through the quiet streets of a city full of people living their own complicated lives, Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in a very long time. Hope. The divorce was final. The truth had been told. The consequences had been faced. And somehow, impossibly, they were all still standing. It wasn't the ending he'd planned when he first saw those pregnancy test results, but it was an ending he could live with. An ending that left room for forgiveness, for growth, for the possibility that broken people could learn to be whole again. Daniel pulled into his parking garage and sat in his car for a moment, listening to the engine tick as it cooled. Tomorrow he would work on a new garden design, take Emily to her soccer game, and have dinner with a woman who made him remember what it felt like to trust someone. It wasn't the life he'd expected, but it was a life worth living. And sometimes, that was enough.